The XRP price is not doing too good today, but every single time that happens, the amount of panic I see in the comment section is just absurd. It seems to me like some people think that all of a sudden, because the price doesn't move upwards for about a day, that all the fundamentals all of a sudden must be thrown out the window, you know? Nothing counts anymore, it seems. But guys, take a look at this. Ripple says US banks will want to use XRP after partial victory in the SEC fight. This is on CNBC. Why? Because you've got to realize this is the most important message out of everything, regardless of what the price is doing right now. Nobody really cares about that on the higher ranks. It's just some fear, uncertainty, and doubt for the most part because Bitcoin is moving down. It's broken down for the first time in a long while. But fundamentally, and over a period of a couple of weeks, months, and years, this is what really counts. And I want you guys to never forget the most important parts about investing in crypto anyway. Guys, I am not your financial advisor. And the only thing I always tell you guys with, an advisory tone is that you should press that like button. Which, if you haven't done it yet, right now, make sure you press that like button, No, but on a more serious note, I have told you guys many times, don't look at these things on a very short term unless you are a trader. And if you're one of those, disregard this little message. But for the most part, a lot of you guys are people who buy right now for a longer period of time. And if you're one of those, I'd say the most important part is just for a longer term, look for the best entry points. Again, I presume you're just like me. You want to buy the cryptos that you like over prolonged periods of time, so to stack up more, and at the lowest price possible. And for that to happen, well, you want to maximize on whatever dip opportunity comes your way. Right now, again, XRP price is down 7% throughout the day. So what do? Instead of thinking along the lines of, oh my days, this is panic, should I sell everything? You think about, okay, is right now already a smart point to buy? Or is it going to go down lower so I can actually properly buy some more? And should I perhaps sell some to buy them cheaper? I'm not a big fan of the selling to buy back cheaper. I'd rather just buy more and just keep whatever I have. But that's for you yourself to decide. I personally think just buying the dip all the time is pretty wise when it comes to XRP. XRP poised for boom as Uphold CEO predicts major institutional interest. It's right now the first properly regulated crypto, and people are trying to still numb it down. They're trying to push it down, saying, oh, this, that, that. But at the end of the day, which other crypto has this? None of them have, which is once more another incentive to not be as negative as some people are. I also saw an article that says, oh, there might be some exhaustion. And it turns out in hindsight that they were right, right? This is about 20 hours ago, and they were right on the trigger. The point is, well, this website is garbage. Don't take it too highly, but the title is pretty interesting. I'd say for the most part, people are just exhausted that XRP didn't break the levels that we thought it would. And it's not that it will not break an all-time high eventually, once we get to those points. I just say that a lot of people selling it right now will be the ones that buy it back as it gets above $1 or even $3 and stuff like that. And I think the exhaustion might stem from just the general fear that's over on Twitter. Many of these guys still claim, oh, they're so good with the law, and they really think this whole Ripple debacle was a loss, and that the judge is stupid. Again, we're seeing that on so many different fields, like Charles Gasparino, for example, who went absolutely hammering on to the judge, saying she's freaking stupid in the brain, basically. He's now coming back to say, hey, XP Army, jokes aside, they think I'm against their cause, and I'm not, and I didn't write that in my column. I said the judge's ruling was idiotic, subject to interpretation and appeal, and Congress needs to step in, which perhaps is something that's happening on more different fronts. And Huber had a good post on this. Nothing changes on XRP when the price decreases or increases. The value is in the protocol. I really do not understand what people expect. If we were in the middle of the middle of the FOMO of a bull market, then I could maybe understand it. But in the midst of the worst bear market, the highest interest rates in decades, complaining about 40 to 50% profits within 1.5 weeks, I don't know. The value is in the protocol. And that actually refers to Donnie Crypto, whom said, nothing made, just evaluating the price, everyone making a mockery while we are defending XRP, and maybe the owners dumping, laughing at us, maybe they have a point. Which is a little bit of a response at the, what's next, basically, where people were still questioning, hey, is Ripple going to keep selling on us? And what about the interlocutory appeal that we talked about, that we said, hey, the deadline for that is like right now? Well, you can see the article right here, right? News. SEC lawyers hint a Ripple appeal is on the way. This article is a little bit misleading because the SEC basically said we might want to, go after y'all because we think the judge made a mistake. They didn't say, hey, we're coming in hot with an appeal. It just might be happening. However, I made a mistake yesterday. I will gladly come out with that to state I thought that the deadline was Sunday evening because of what all the lawyers stated. But apparently, and this came out very early in the morning on Monday, so it's up for interpretation on which day, because I presume they're in America, so this is actually on Sunday. Although the rule is silent, 10 days always made sense to me as the right deadline to seek DCT certification of an order for intellectual appeal. After all, that's the deadline the petition to the appellate court. 10 court days from judge's ruling is tomorrow. Anyway, the point here being, an appeal from the SEC side, if at all, would probably happen today. Potentially some people are extra spiced up for that. Now, would it be smart on their side? I don't think so. And I don't think that when they were talking and referring to their appeal that they were actually talking about this specific appeal. I think rather more a longer term one. Ripple Labs CEO Garlinghouse has again lashed at the SEC, arguing its enforcement approach to crypto has only let consumers holding the bag in bankruptcy court, because at the end of the day, who exactly is the SEC doing this for, and where does the money go to? For the most part, XRP holders are just missing out because of all the SEC efforts. Before I move on, guys, make sure you check out the link down below to Bybit, which is a crypto exchange where you can right now get $1,125 for free in terms of a contract to trade XRP. A link for that is down below. Or if you'd prefer, just a little bit of randomness, you want to win yourself a nice little prize, which perhaps is actually a really large prize, you can get yourselves a couple of juicy spins over on BitGet, which is again another cryptocurrency exchange, but right now they're doing a cool promotion where if you finish one of these actions, you get different spins on their little wheel of prizes, which again is pretty cool, so make sure you check it out with the link down below. And ultimately, I think it's also funny how now that XRP won, it all came out positively, just the amount of criticism. And I've got even more on this, guys. A lot of people who said, hey, XRP is going to lose back in 2020 are all of a sudden now standing on the side of Ripple and basically have turned their 180 against the SEC. While a lot of others like Charles are all of a sudden from XRP supporters to full-on SEC supporters by criticizing the judge, criticizing everything that they do. And first it was John Dean doing all this stuff wrong. Now it's the judge doing all this stuff wrong. John says, I've been fighting tribalism and echo chamber politics for the last 3 years. In 2013, the SEC officials were calling Bitcoin a security. Unfortunately for me and my family, I wasn't aware of Bitcoin in 2013. Where was Max Kaiser when I needed him the most? And on a little side note, this is kind of funny. Digital Asset Investor said, crazy coincidence. Ripple's in a lawsuit for almost 3 years, then gets a judgment making XRP payments legal in the US. Elon Musk goes live with X.com to change the banking within 2 weeks of the ruling, as he basically said something along the lines of X.com, X as a concept, could potentially change half of the entire financial system. And on, again, another side note, if you don't believe what we have often said about the SEC deliberately making things more difficult than it needed to be, Dave actually had a good little part on this. The irony is if the SEC under Clayton had embraced Hester Peirce's safe harbor proposal to let crypto exchanges actually come in and register with new rule proposals that work with the crypto ecosystem, in all likelihood, they would have gained jurisdiction without argument. But right now, again, the SEC doesn't have jurisdiction over them, which again, the court has mostly decided, which is again another reason why the SEC seems to think everything is wrong, because this takes away their power. And John says, the great irony in crypto right here. Always remember, Clayton and Hester Peirce and Elliot Roisman, as fellow commissioners, had the three votes. Hester and Elad supported crypto innovation with a safe harbor. Clayton and Hinman wanted it opaque. It allowed them to cash in on it because, again, of what we found out later, the conflict of interest and their connections to these law firms, which again have connections to Ethereum, etc., etc., etc. And another interesting part is how people are not speaking on what the SEC is doing right here. Why is the SEC coming out now to state that the judge is completely wrong and that must have been a mistake and things of that sort? Where usually Hester would speak out about this, apparently she stayed so quiet. People are also wondering about that. Anyway, like I've already stated a couple of times, if you're still worried about this appeal, probably nothing bad is going to happen to XRP, nor the ecosystem, nor the price, because XRP will probably not lose any grip at all. One thing that might potentially, just potentially happen is a nice pump because the SEC is going to lose double-hearted. But again, this would all take a significant amount of time, as I don't think they're going to file an appeal today. But even if they do, that's an appeal that's very hard to be granted. And that does not mean they can even file the appeal. But the moment they get it granted, it's also very hard to win it, which is a double twister of a negativity thing. You know what I mean? So to file it, that's pretty difficult because they don't really have the right. But then to win, once they are allowed to file it, that's a double whammy. Like I said, they're trying to discredit it by continuing to say that the judge is making some absurd legal arguments. And they're literally here in this New York Post article calling her mad. In the meantime, the crypto industry will have to live with one of the most bizarre and dangerous court rulings I've ever seen in covering finance for 3 decades. And all I've got to say about that one is, why put all the blame on the judge here and not at the initial lawsuit? Why? Like, out of everything, the whole point that becomes quite clear to anybody is that the rules are not that clear and that there is, in any way, shape, or form, well, a little bit of room left for interpretation. And if you can't agree with that, I'd say he's insane, because even the SEC seems to think about it that way. To which I'd like to point out that it's, again, up to the SEC to make sure that things are, well, interpretable by everybody. And if it's not, they should come forward with that. But that's not the way they've done things. No, the way they do things is, we have a certain way to interpret the law. We're going to force that upon everybody. And if you don't agree, you're wrong. Period. That's not how it works. At the end of the day, they are there to allege things. Certainly, sure. This lawsuit, I wouldn't say even was the worst thing in the world. But then to see the verdict that the judge made of the laws that they also accept and falsely claimed were too clear for everybody, for them to now say that this was interpreted wrong by the judge is just insane to me. Because at the end of the day, the judge has way more authority than the SEC in any way, shape, or form. And I think it's a disgrace. But yeah. I personally remain quite optimistic on the whole matter. Again, some things are changing in the sense that, well, perhaps tonight we see an appeal. And, well, the crypto market's moving down. Perhaps if Bitcoin breaks 29,000, which, again, it could, we see a little bit of a ruckus again in the markets. For sure possible. I'll be updating you guys as things progress. I think things are about to get pretty interesting. But that was it for my little news update right now. Guys, if you enjoyed this crypto video, make sure you put that notification bell on just in case something crazy happens and it needs to be covered. And that was about it. See you guys later in another one.